Would you like a TLDR of what the actual story's about, so you're not just like confused where the fuck I'm writing? Okay, so all of this is tentative. None of this is set in stone because I've pretty much gone back and changed a lot of this several times for the better each time. And because I'm just horrible at coming up with ideas and I eventually come up with something better. Basically what's happening is you have the main character named Alora, and you have her best friend, her name is Tessa. Tessa works for, like, how to put it, an organization that you could go and pay money to, and they would give you services for whatever. You want to put a hit on someone, if you're paying money, that's fine. You want something stolen, you pay money, that's fine. You want us to go spy on someone just because you're scared to do it, whatever. So she's kind of like a neutral party. As long as you pay the money, she doesn't give a shit who the fuck does it. She'll go work for it. Like a mercenary, I guess you could say. Alora, on the other hand, was working for the main capital city for what is now the bad guys of the game. It's called Irongard. Irongard was a mostly human city, and I'll get to that in a second. But eventually, the antagonist of the game, Voss, eventually comes into power, and as most bad guys would do, basically wants to take over everything. Okay, he wants it for himself. So him and two other people, right now the other one is Lortho, and I have a third one I'm not going to name yet, but it's a woman. Basically, they're going to three work together to take over the world. Basically, they want to take over the humans and the Ignited. What are the Ignited? They're basically mages. It's another form of a mage. I just don't want to use the word mage in my game. A little different in some aspects, but basically you're a mage. So you have humans and Ignited. Irongard, at one point in time, was, humans and Ignited lived together, no problem. Well, once Voss came into power, he wants all the Ignited out. Because eventually he wants to take over the world, and Ignited are stronger than humans, so eventually he wants to get rid of the Ignited, take over the humans, and take over the world. So, he kicks all the Ignited out. Well, this is a long, lengthy process, so eventually they all flee to a city called the Nexus. The Nexus is like what Irongard used to be. It's a lovely city, huge city, full of like steampunk and magic technology. Everyone living together, no problem. It's like the last stronghold of this continent of the world. So eventually, Alora works for whatever job. I'm just going to put something in there because it's irrelevant right now. But she works from a job and gets fired at the beginning of the game. So she can't make rent, she can't pay bills, she's falling on hard times. So what she does, she goes and asks her best friend Tessa for some help. So Tessa's like, hey, sure, I could give you some work. You can do some of the lighter, work with me. Kind of get your feet wet into the business and whatnot. Get you some money, so on and so forth. So the start of the game, you have 3 missions you do. The first mission, I think it is, you're going to spy on some like miners and like loggers. Which eventually later in the game you find out were people working for Voss. And they're searching for these crystals. The crystals are pretty much made of, like, essence of the world. Essence comes from, like, Ignited dying, humans dying. It's kind of, I don't know another way to put it. Think of, like, a tree of life, like, the nature, spiritual thing. Everything comes together. Your spirit passes on, something. So basically, these crystals are formed in the planet from this essence left over from people passing on. So, anyways, these crystals are very important, and I'll get to that later in the story, but they play a big role in the game. So eventually, you go, you spy on these people, everything's great, you come back, life's jolly well good, make a paycheck, go home. Second mission is you're introduced to the third character in the game. His name is Soren. Soren is he's like a cloud of Ironguard. Big guy, big sword, muscly. He's your heavy meleeer of the game. He kind of just doesn't give a fuck about anything. He has his own personal problems. He has his own agenda. But he's really good friends with Tessa. They worked together in the past on a couple of missions. If Ironguard needs something done, he's typically the one that goes out there and says, hey, we got business to do, so on and so forth. They got like a small fling with each other, nothing serious. They don't date or anything, but you have that. So the second mission of the game is one of the main characters in Final Fantasy is called Soren. To note, the only RPG I've played is 9. So it's really funny when I'll come up with something and my friend Josh is like, bro, you're totally ripping from like XYZ game. I'm like, I don't fucking know, I've never played it. So we'll have to like change things up a bit. So if something sounds familiar to another game, probably because I've never played it. So same thing with names. I'll just come up with a name, and just like that Soren, it just might be the same name. So anyways, the second mission is, I think I had it where an ignited that was in the city did something to piss off the Ironguard government, or piss off Voss, basically. And he needs to be whacked. He's a dead guy. So you have to go fight him. And this is the first time an actual ignited is introduced into the game. Alora has only heard about him. She's never seen one before, let alone fought one. So you have to go, you have to kill him. It's kind of like the first big boss of the game. And you do that, you go home. The third mission is where the game actually kicks in a high gear. Like, this is what actually really starts off the game. And it gets serious and dark really quick. The third mission is a really easy one. You know, Tessa comes up, it's like, hey, their job really easy, she pays really, really good money. And Alora's like, look, first we had to go spy on some people, then we had to kill a guy. I've never had to do that. So she's freaking out. Tessa's like, no problem. Chill, we got this, no problem. All we gotta do is go steal a package. And of course Alora freaks the fuck out, like, okay, now we're killing people, now we're stealing from people. What the hell am I getting myself into? She assures her, hey, easy job, in and out, big paycheck, big money, no problem. She's like, okay. So they have to go steal this package from the Nexus. It's like a small camp traveling back to the Nexus, and they're holding one of these crystals. Wait, okay. I'll pause. What's your question? That doesn't sound like she's up for sale to do anything, and so as long as the cash is right. No. Tessa's hardcore. Tessa doesn't give any... You pay money, I don't care. Alora is the one who's just like, not used to this line of work. She's like, I've never killed anybody. I've never really fought anybody. I've never stolen. Why am I doing this, you know? So, but it pays. It's my best friend. I really need money. I kind of have to do this. I trust her. I've known her all my life. That kind of thing. So it's Alora, the actual main character, the one freaking out. Tessa's just like, it's another day of the job. I'm taking a package. Give it to this guy. No, it's cool. It's cool. Okay, so take a package. Easy thing. So they leave at night. They find the camp. Of course, there's like a little playthrough. The player has to go through like terrain, woods, whatever. So you have random battles. You know, typical RPG stuff. They find it, they sneak in, they take the package, but when they leave, they get spotted. So it's kind of known, they get seen who it is, but they still kind of get away. They're under strict instructions to not open the container whatsoever. One, they don't have the codes or the password or whatever combination to do it. so they can't. 2, they were told not to do it. Part of the job, so on and so forth. Maps, dude. If it's like a picture-drawn map, I can use that. If it's like an actual RPG Maker map, I'm fairly good at doing them. Although I'm always open for suggestions and help. I'm not going to turn it down. So. Okay, so this is where the game kicks into high gear. So they take the package. They get back to town. Tess is like, hey, look, I'm going to hook up with Soren to talk about another job coming up. Am I lagging? No, I'm not dropping frames. That's good. Okay, so, hey, take this package, deliver it to this address. I'm going to meet up with Soren to talk about some stuff tonight. And she's all like, yeah. So, Alora, you know, I got the package, I drop it off, collect a paycheck. It's easy, right? So she takes this, you know, I guess, suitcase, container, whatever you want to call it, and goes back into Iron Card, knocks on the door, and a guy named Rickard answers the door. Rickard's an asshole. Just gonna put that out now. So, yeah, you know, they're all like, you got the goods, come on in. Alright, so they walk in this building. You know, they get to like down the halls, deep inside this facility, and she hands a package to Rickard, and he's like, cool, and of course he opens it up to investigate to make sure they got the right thing, and he's like, oh yes, everything's great, cool, and she's like, alright, be on my way, bye, and starts to leave, and he's like, wait up. Well, inside this box is a crystal. The problem is this crystal is now active. It's like glowing. It's freaking out. It's like sparking and everything. And, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. So he's like, hold up, come here. So she's like, what did I do? What's wrong? This package, or this crystal rather, for the plot, which puts later into the game, only reacts to very specific people that have, what's the word for it? That are like attuned to a very specific type of essence in the world. Very, very rare. But it just so happens that she is, I say, active with it. So he's kind of like surprised. He's like, oh my god, we already found someone. It's working. Is it me? Is it her? So he's like, just take a couple steps down the hallway. You know, just have a good day. And as she walks away, the crystal gets dimmer and, you know, starts to power down, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, So eventually, he captures her. They, like, take her in, like, you know, bring her back, bring her in here. So she struggles. They, you know, beat her over the head with the back of a gun, knock her out. I'm gonna let my internet stabilize for a minute here. I seem to be crapping out.
That's me.
Am I do what?
Sims has an update.
Ooh.
It's gonna be a few seconds.
Okay, so to deliver the crystal, Crystal's like going crazy. They capture her. What they're going to do is they're going to create something called a Maligar, or Malignar. It's spelled like this. M-A-L-I-G-N-A-R. It's a couple of Latin terms and phrases put together. They need to make this. In order to make this, they have to have that crystal, find someone who's active with it, and perform this, like, surgery/ritual, insert name. And basically, it creates this. It will transform her into this. Okay? What is this? Okay? This is kind of like half human, half dragon, but not necessarily dragon. Still, like, you'll still have, like, talon hands, claws for hands, talons for feet, a tail, horns, no wings, scales in certain parts of your body. Almost like reptilian, but not. I'm kind of, like, trying to do my own unique thing with it. I've got a couple of, like, Frankenstein etches up. But basically, she's this thing now, okay? And the whole purpose of this thing is to be used as a vessel to summon the god of this religion that these people follow. And that's going to be like the big bad guy of the game. So she is being created as this to summon the last boss of the game, or like the bringer of the end of the world. But what's different is it doesn't really take right, so she kind of breaks free of the mental control over it, because usually you're just supposed to be this lifeless thing. They're like, okay, we're just gonna summon the god and you're good, and you listen to us, you follow our controls. Well, she's mentally free. She's herself. She's just this thing now. So she breaks free, kills everybody in the room, and just freaks the fuck out and just passes out of just exhaustion. She's just, can't fathom what's going on. So she's this thing now, and that's like setting the tone of the game. This is it. That's her. No one knows about it. Well, there's another group of people called the Outsiders. It's kind of like the rebellion for the Nexus. They're not necessarily the militia, like a part of the army, because the Nexus don't really want to have war. They're just kind of like, yeah, we're peaceful. We don't want to start shit. We'll just defend if we need to, because we don't know what the fuck's going on. But these people were like, we're just going to go kill everybody who's against us. So they had a plan to go infiltrate this facility. Just so happened to be that same night when they go back and they see everyone dead, and they see Allura on the floor. She's alive and breathing but knocked out. And they're like, what the fuck is this? What the hell are they doing? Are they experimenting on people now? Like, do we need to go back and tell people this? So they take her back to a camp close to the Nexus, and they're starting to interrogate her. They're like, who are you? What are you? What the fuck's going on? And she's like, I don't know. I don't give a... What? You tell me. Eventually, she mentions Tessa, and they've worked with Tessa. They know Tessa. She's like, okay, we'll go tell her. Long story short, they go get Tessa. Tessa comes back, explains everything. They show her to Tessa. Tessa freaks the fuck out. They have a talk. Everything's cool. She's like, hey, it's me. I'm not actually here to kill you. I'm not here to kill anybody. I was out of my mind, defending myself. So they leave. They head back to the Nexus and search for help. They just want to figure out what the hell happened to Allura, what the hell's going on, and tell them, hey, Iron Guard's up to some shit. You need to be ready. Like, okay. On the way there, we meet Soren again. Soren has instructions to go find this said monster that Allura is and bring her back. Well, problem is she's friends with Tessa and knows Allura. So he's like, who do I side with? Do I follow my job, my life, everything I've worked for, or do I go with my not so kind of love interest, kind of not, and their best friend to figure out what the hell's going on? And long story short, he goes with them. He's like, okay, I'll help you guys. We'll figure it out, okay? But Rickard radios in like, hey, do you have an update? Nah, everything's cool. We're good. So Rickard doesn't believe him. So Rickard informs Iron Guard of some shit's up. Soren's gone rogue. So now they know. Iron Guard knows something's up. So they go to the Nexus, and that's when you meet your fourth character in the game. His name's called Varendale. Varendale is the lead researcher / like one of the highest ignited in the city of Nexus. Like, he's up there. He's known. He's a badass. He's a smart ass. He's cocky, but he's good at what he does. So he's got that chip on his shoulder. Basically, you get there. You explain everything. He's very interested in knowing what the hell Allura is, because he's never seen it before, and he's only read about it in some books, in a couple of books, very minor. So he's interested. As a doctor, as a scientist, as a researcher, he wants to know what the hell's going on. So, and this is where I have like a lot of my games changing. As you can see this outline at the bottom down here. To try to find out more about what Allura is, they mentioned that the miners and loggers they saw earlier on in the game that were kind of close by to that facility, but kind of not, which didn't really make sense because there'd be no reason to do any of that kind of stuff out there for no reason. So he's like, well, funny you should mention that. I've got some friends up by a mine shaft by this ruined city from like thousands of years ago, from like this war that was happening thousands of years ago. I'll get to more of that in a minute. we should go check that out and see if they might have found something. They say they've had like some couple of like activity going on, some weird things, and it could be something. So they go to this mine, they meet some people, they're like, yeah, shit's going on down there, man. We found this thing, we can't drill through, we can't blow it out. We don't know what the fuck's going on. And he's like, alright. Sends them all home, they all go down. So you have like the first like dungeon crawler of the game. Then you meet what is essentially like a ruined temple from the First War. Basically where the Ignited first came from. They first lived and had a first war. I'll get to that in a minute. So anyways, you go in there, you dungeon all the way down, and you find the back end of it, which was like the research facility and experiment and note-taking facility. Like the history of the Ignited are right here. And all these books. Like encyclopedias on like how the beginning of magic started, how to use magic, what they knew about magic, what they were attempting about magic. All this stuff. They don't know Iron Guard's already been here and taken some books. So they think they have them all because they can't read them. They just like, oh, this is like some foreign language, but it looks like it's an encyclopedia. Let's take them all. And that's currently what I'm writing when you first got in here. I was kind of changing that scene up. Yeah, jackpot. Like, oh my god, what is this? So they take all the books. They take them back to the Nexus. They lay them out on the table, and they're like, alright, what the fuck is this? So the group has no idea. Varendale's like, well, there is this historian. He might know. I'll call him in. So they bring a historian in there, and he starts flipping through the pages, and he's like, well, you got a good collection here, but you're missing some books. And everyone's like, how? This thing's been locked up for who knows how long. We're the first ones in there. Well, they weren't, so books are missing. The books are missing are the ones that have the instructions of how to create the Malagnar that they use to create Allura with. They need those books, because it tells them how it happened. So the group now has to infiltrate Iron Guard. But the Ignited, which is Varendale, and kind of Allura, she's still considered an Ignited in the game. She's like an empowered version of one. They can't just go waltzing in there because Iron Guard has like detectors. They know when an Ignited's around. So Tessa and Soren's like, you know what? We kind of know the way around Iron Guard. We'll go figure some stuff out. So they go to the facility that they found Allura in. And they recover some of the books. They don't get them all. But they get the one that they needed, I guess, essentially you could say. They come back. They all meet up again. They lay the books out and they're like, some shit's going down. This doesn't look good. We don't know what you are still exactly and why they did it. But we know they're doing it for a reason now that's not good. So, what did I have now? Let's see here. Gather books. Okay, so this is where my outline, like, to this point, I have all wrote out. And that's that 15,000 words. Now is what I have to write. And that's what I'm going to start doing on stream. So, Tessa, Soren agree to hit the facility, get the books. Take the notes, Tessa, Soren, return to the Nexus. So, okay, so we get to meet another character in the game. It's not a main character, like a playable character, but it's a plot-relevant character. Her name's Zoe. It's Soren's sister. Soren, what I was telling you earlier, had a lot of his, own personal problems. About 10 or so years ago, when they were like teenagers, his sister went missing, and the city told him that she died. No, not my outline, the story that I've got so far, like what I've wrote is 15,500 lines. My outline is just what I wrote over the holidays so I know what where to continue on and kind of like what's still being like made and changed and altered and stuff like that. So Soren's sister, he thought she died. That's what, the corrupted government told him. He's like, oh, it's a teenager. He didn't know any better. He's like, oh, your sister died. I'm sorry, man. Like, here's a funeral for her. We feel for you, man. The feels, baby. Bible thump, Well, she's not dead. She actually turned ignited and fled the city because she knew all this stuff was going on. So she fled to the Nexus. And now she's like the lead assistant for Varendale. But she's already out on a mission doing stuff when they got there, so they weren't able to be introduced. Well, when they get there, they find out who Zoe is. They're like, oh man, that name sounds familiar. So Soren and Zoe have this connection moment where they get to know each other again, blah, 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 blah. Tessa, Allura, and Varendell get to have a moment where they talk about everything, like, okay, what happened, what's going through your head, blah, 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 blah. Zoe goes out on another mission, like normal. The group continues to do some note-taking to figure stuff out. They're just clueless. Eventually, there's a distress call, or a call for help, that comes from Zoe. She's like, hey, in layman's terms, basically, she's like, hey, Iron Guard's here. I don't know how they know where I'm at. I need help. They're like killing all my guards. We can't hold them off much longer. So the group just rushes over to where she's at. They find her. It's Rickard again. Was able to lock on one of their traces and find her. So he's trying to, you know, kill him, I guess. Whatever you want to do that he's going to do. But they get there in time. And Allura's like, you're the guy that kind of did this to me. Kinda. Let's go have a little talk. So this is what I actually changed a few days ago. They kind of take him to wherever they're at that Zoe finds them, and Allura and Varendell have a talk about what happened that she could remember, and Varendell's like, okay, let's try to get some more information from him, you know, if we can. So you have all these, like, torture slash interrogation stuff that they do to try to get information from him, and he ends up spilling the beans because he's a pussy. He can't take shit. All talk, no bark. So he basically says, okay, hey, Voss and Lorthro are up some shit. I don't know. I'm just a pawn in all this. All I know is they're bringing Ryla back. That's all he says. They're bringing Ryla back. And that's all they could get from him. And they're like, that name sounds so familiar. Varendell was just like scratching his head. He's like, it's there. I just don't remember what it is. So he's like, well, let's go back and figure this shit out. And Allura's like, no, this fucker's gonna die for what he did. And I was like, this is like a turning point in the game for this character, because before she was so scared about killing people, she had never done it. You know, like the beginning of the game shows her like her weakness and fear of doing this, and now she just wants to be cold-blood murder. And Tessa's like, what's gotten into you? And it's the mental change of what she's become and the instinct of what she is. She's designed to kill people, to be this vessel for this god to just slaughter people. She still has that mindset. So she has no remorse about killing anyone. She's like, he did this to me, I want to kill him. So Soren and Tessa are just like, it's not like you. And Varendell's like, well, he gets what's coming to him. I mean, he doesn't care. So they leave, they go outside, she does whatever. You don't really see it, you just hear it. So she kills him, they come out, they go back. Let's see, what happened? So, I get from him, comfortable, Tessa. They take Zoe back to the Nexus. Soren and Zoe catch up some more. So they look over the books. They take the information that they got from Rickard about Ryla. Who the fuck is Ryla? Ryla is the goddess that's going to be summoned into Allura as the vessel. He finds her name in one of the books, and he's like, it's here, and I've seen it somewhere else. So he goes looking through all his like history books and everything, and he finds the name, Ryla, the goddess of just like whatever insert name, like destruction or whatever you want to call her. Basically, she's like goddess that can be summoned into this to just start killing people. That's what she was done. And that's what happened in the first war earlier in the game that I told you about happened from the ruins. They said there was a previous war. It was a great war 1,000 years ago. And it was the original Ignited and humans fighting, kind of like they are now. Kind of with like a same group of people that are like now, like Voss and Lortho. Just want to take over the world, found a way to summon this goddess, and they used it. Well, the Ignited found a way to kill the Malignar. But they don't have that book. So they don't know how. So all they know is, okay, they're bringing back Ryla. Don't know how or why. And they have Allura, who's this thing now. So they're trying to put the puzzle pieces together, and they can't quite do it yet. So this is where the second antagonist of the game, Lortho, comes in. During the night, Alora kind of goes on a stroll, thinking to herself, like, what the hell am I? What the hell happened to me? Who am I now? Like, am I even the same person? Like, this emotional, mental, like, state she's in. Well, there's word from another city called Celeria that Lortho has, like, just leveled out of nowhere. He just comes in there with his just weapon that just, like, levels the city, okay? He's found a way to corrupt the essence inside of these crystals. And he uses it as a weapon. It kind of, like, is poison to essence. It's kind of like a plague or a venom that will just make you sick. So it, like, weakens the ignited, makes them sick, and they just die. It just kills you. And it kills any humans that are, like, strong with essence inside of you. It just kills you. So there's a couple of survivors left, but no one saw it coming. He just planted this weapon as, like, later bitches, and you know, almost everyone in the city's dead now. Well, they hear word, they go running there to figure out what the hell happened, and of course, because it hurts ignited, again, Varendell and Alora can't go in there, so you're only stuck with Tessa and Soren. So they go in there, they see some survivors, they're just like, I don't know what happened. I mean, just people just started dying, we don't know why. So now they know, okay, something's up. Well, Lortho left his general and some men back. I know poison doesn't level a city. Like, I'm not saying leveled as in, like, buildings gone. I'm saying leveled as in, like, a mass, kind of like an extermination, just like a mass genocide killing of just, like, everybody, okay? Except a couple of, like, surviving people that just weren't affected by it. Sorry, bad terminology there, I'm sorry. So, he leaves some men behind. So you have this boss fight now. And they fight, they win, they come back out. And they fight, it's a destined lose battle, and they lose. They get captured by these people. So Lortho's, like, top general or whatever captures both of them. Which is kind of impressive because you have, like, this special agent who's, like, so badass at doing things. And then you have this, like, hard-on, like, for war warrior, soldier of Iron Guard. They just lose these guys, which is very impressive to hear about. So this is where my story kind of, like, stops. And now I have just ideas of what I could do. And this is where, like, I'll brainstorm some stuff and then make it flow again. So, what I've got so far is Tessa and Alora and Varendell go back to the city. They find out that it was this sickness that killed the people, and they don't know what it is, but they know that you have to find out how to detect it, because it's just, you just lay it in the middle of the city, and it just, you know, goes off, and all of a sudden it just starts making people sick and killing everybody. So they have to find a way to detect it. And what I'm thinking is it's another outlet for the player to do some adventuring at this point. You have to do some research. You have to figure out, like, what interacts with what, you know? So they have to go find, like, materials. They have to find, like, research. They have to find people to work on it. So you have, like, the adventuring, actually going out into the world, not as linear, and figure some of this stuff out. Visit some cities, visit some people, get some more history of the world. A good way to do stuff like that. And the last thing I have is right here, that Lortho plans to send a co-op mission inside the Nexus and start planting these devices throughout the Nexus. And the team finds a way to detect these things. And they start detecting that, oh my god, people are dying in the city because of this. Like, everything was going on. So now they have to go and find every one of these devices inside the city and, like, deactivate it and take them out. So now you have to save this city, the last saving city of this continent and this planet. So you have that. Later plans I don't have really etched out yet is the Nexus is eventually going to fall. Voss is eventually going to come and kill everybody. Just, he will level the city. Like, it's gone. So the players have to flee to the other side of the continent, to another continent in the world, to another like stronghold city for the Ignited that has its own bullshit going on from all the other people over there, which is going to be the third character who I've yet not like come up like a whole backstory for yet or anything. She's going to be causing shit over there, and that's it. Like that's all I've got. And then Endgame is going to be they find a way to summon the goddess into Allura, so you have to fight Allura, stop it, kill the goddess without killing Allura, and then kill the three like generals of the bad guys, three antagonists, and then that's the game. Whether or not I'm gonna have Allura live, die, able to be changed back or not, sad story, good story, I don't know yet. Depends. I'm just letting it see how it plays out. So that long ass rant is what I've got thus far. So I'm pretty good ways into it. I have a lot more shit to write, but I want this to be chat interactive when I write. I want there to be... I want the ability for people to come into the chat. It can be like, I have an idea for your game, or I have an idea for a scene. It could be totally